All right, welcome in everybody to another week of your favorite LSU baseball podcast, Tiger Talk. I'm here with my man Jason Armstrong. Jason, how we doing tonight?
Doing good, Alex. Doing good.
Glad to hear it, man. It was another winning weekend for the Tigers, although it ended on a sour note. But let's not let the sour note that it ended on detract from overall a good weekend. Um, really hoping for the sweep, but it didn't quite happen. But we got 2 out of 3. The math's getting a little sketchy coming down the track, but we'll get into that, a little bit later. But just to kind of get into this weekend, looking at game one, man, we had a really nice repeat performance from Gage Jump. I mean, he was money again. Got you 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, and then Christian Little, man. About Christian Little, man, he came in and just absolutely slammed the door, saved the shutout. LSU wins 5-0. What did you see in that game?
Yeah, I mean the story of the game is once again is the pitching for me. Um, Jump was good again, and I love the way that um, he was working. I'm a big fastball in guy, and that's not something that a lot of college guys feel comfortable with because two things can typically happen. You can either miss right over the plate and and get knocked around, or you can hit the batter. Um, but he did it with confidence. He was throwing 2 breaking balls, might have mixed in a couple of changeups, but he was just sharp. He was very good, and I'm a huge Christian Little fan. Um, his stats have not looked good, but there's been plenty of outings, and we talked about this last week, where he's just got good stuff. He throws up to 97. For some reason, he gets hit a little bit, but a lot of those hits he's given up were with 2 strikes the last, this season. Um, but I thought he was great, and so the pitching was awesome. And then we did enough. We did enough at the plate. I think we wound up with was it like 9 hits total. Had I think a couple of home runs. Uh, yeah, one by White, one by Travinsky. Um, and you know, this is another thing that we talked about last week was that Auburn was going to run some guys out there that have been pitching well, and I think it was Watts, the starter. Um, he did a good job. He kept us off balance. They threw strikes. Um, each guy they brought in could pitch a little bit, and so again, their record doesn't doesn't really tell the whole story for Auburn. They've been pitching better the last couple of weekends, especially than their record would tell you. So it was a good win. We needed that game one for confidence. So I thought we did some things well. We left that game, and I was feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you win that game. You don't have to use Griffin Herring.
Big
Um,
one.
Big, yeah. And so you're feeling great coming off that victory. Like you said, the offense did enough, and really the offense made most of their hay, against the better bullpen arms of
Hmm.
of Auburn. Auburn threw some of their top bullpen arms in that game, in Armstrong and
Yeah.
Carlson and Murphy, but yeah, the LSU's, LSU was really able to have some success. You mentioned White and Travinsky with those solo shots because that's what this team does,
That's what we
solo home
hit.
runs.
What about
But we have
Milazzo with
problems.
the
Okay.
I was gonna say, what about Milazzo with the 2 RBI double late in the game to blow it open? I mean, how clutch was that after looking bad? I want to say that Milazzo had 2 strikeouts early in the game, and
Yeah,
to come,
I mean, Milazzo has really kind of stabilized that catching position. That's been a revolving door. Brady Neal's really struggled in SEC play at the plate,
mhm,
and even some defensively. And
yeah,
Milazzo has really, stabilized that position, and really seems like that's going to be his kind of moving forward. I know Brady Neal's still dealing with a shoulder injury on his throwing shoulder. So, he's probably still going to miss some time. And even when he's fully healthy, I'm not sure that he's going to be the play on most days at this point, the way Alex Milazzo is playing. And then, Ashton Larson came up and got his RBI knock. And, after the game, Jay said that Ashton's RBI was really the one that kept Griffin Herring in the bullpen and kept him from coming in the game, because, Jay said that after the game that, 4-0 Griffin's coming in the game because he's seen this team lose too many leads like that late. He wasn't going to mess around, but 5 runs, he felt a little bit better about, going to Christian Little and not having to use Griffin Herring. So, that was clutch from both of those guys. And then you move into Saturday, where you get a pretty nice bounce back performance from Holman, who, had his worst outing of the year at Mizzou last Saturday. But you get 6 2/3 from him, gave you some really good length. He did have the 3 walks, but 9 Ks, only gives up the 2 earned runs. And, the LSU bats were able to make some hay. And then again, you didn't have to use Griffin Herring. You got Nate Ackenhausen in there. Thatcher Hurd comes in, Gavin Guidry, got some good performances from those guys. Nate's the only one that even gives up a hit between the 3 relievers, which is just awesome to see. I mean, Thatcher really only threw 3 pitches, so it's not,
Well, he
not
threw
really
one.
a whole
I
lot
want
from
to.
him.
I want to say he threw one pitch because he came in on a 2-0 count. So it looks like he threw 3 pitches, but I want to say that's what was so funny because came in with the count 2-0. He threw a slider. The guy flew out and he got the win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Nice
funny how
job,
those
Eric.
things kind of work out. But yeah, I mean, he only faces the one batter. Now, I mean, you also bring in Thatcher Hurd because at that time, the game is tied. So when Thatcher Hurd comes in, the game is tied. So, you wanted a guy to come out of the bullpen that could give you some length. I mean, you thought Nate Ackenhouse was going to give you some length, but he ends
Hmm.
up hurting his hamstring. So he has to come out, and then Thatcher Hurd comes in, and that's a guy who, if you started to get into the extra innings, he could give you some length. But it ended up not being necessary because old reliable himself, Josh Pearson, comes up to the plate with the bases loaded and drives in, an RBI, has an RBI single. Probably really would have been a double had it not been a walk-off. Probably would have scored at least 2. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, gets the RBI single and wins the game in a close game, in the 1-run ball game that has just haunted this team. The game that was Saturday night has just haunted this team this year, but they were able to win it on Saturday. What did you see?
Well, yeah, the second game in a row that Tommy White put us on the board with our first run, goes home run in the 3rd inning. Then him and Jones go back to back, so we get the 2 home runs from them. Uh, did you realize Jones has 19 home runs right now for the
Mm-hmm.
year? He doesn't get talked about a lot, but I mean, he's only what 3 home runs off of maybe Lavalette and 4 off of Montgomery. So I mean, he's quietly having a really, really. I mean, I don't know. It's not quiet to us, but you just don't hear him as
Well, I mean, that's why you saw Auburn intentionally walk him twice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, our guys. White didn't have an incredible weekend, but 2 games in a row gives us a big home run. Um, and I thought Auburn did a good job. I thought that Cam Tilley is a very, very highly rated freshman that they brought in, and he threw 3 innings and struck us out 7 times. We didn't score off of him. Um, they threw some good arms against us, and it was kind of frustrating. And Jay even talked about this. It was funny because even after we won that game on Saturday, he was very frustrated, and I felt it too because I'm watching this game going, "What are we doing? Like we're taking pitches that are strikes, getting behind, and or we're chasing pitches out that zone. We were really Auburn did a really good job of keeping us off balance. We got 10 hits. It was the only game of the weekend where we hit over 300 for the game as a team. But again, we held Auburn to a total of 3 hits. So 2 hits game one, 3 hits game two. And it's going to be hard to lose when you give up, 3 hits in a game. I loved the way that we approached uh, the pitching. I was, after Jump gets us to the eighth inning on game one. I mean, Holman gets us an out away from the eighth inning on Saturday, and I really liked how they sent him out there for the seventh inning. I think most of us thought that they were going to pull him at that point, and but he looked so good. I mean, I know he was over 100 pitches, but I feel like at the time he was sharp. He didn't look fatigued, and he was still our best chance. But one of the things when the bullpen was struggling, we kind of talked about is we felt like people were just kind of being put out there and just going until things got bad. And I love the way that we brought in Guidry. He struck everybody and their mama out. So he did a great job. Then we take him out. We go to Ackenhausen, and Ackenhausen gives us 1 1/3, and it was probably he was probably close to where um, even if he doesn't injure himself, was going to be. I mean, I would assume somebody was up going to come in soon. But anyway, then we go to Hurt. So we used a lot of guys, and what I think is important there is not only did they do a good job, but we're getting those guys involved. It's been a while since Guidry's been out there, since Hurts felt good about his performance. So I like to see that. It was a good team win. It wasn't great offensively. We'll talk about this when we kind of wrap up the weekend, but offensively, we got some hits, but we walked it off in the last inning. So we scored a total of 3 runs, and it's not so much the runs. I just thought we did look off balance a little bit at the plate. Um, but yeah, another good win, and that sets us up for Sunday to go in 2 games up.
Yeah, I mean Sunday, everybody feeling really good. A lot of questions about who was going to be the starting pitcher, if they were going to go Griffin Herring, which would have was what I was advocating for. When you and I were texting about it, you called for Cade Anderson to start, and he got the start, and man, he kind of had he had some tough luck, in his start. They allows the I think he got charged. Yeah, he got charged with all 5 runs, but there's only 3 runs have come across the plate when he gets pulled. Will
Yeah,
Helmers gives up the other, the hit that brings in the other 2, but they weren't getting hard contact, man. They were just kind of hitting him where LSU wasn't. And so it was tough luck for Anderson, but I mean, credit to LSU. They don't fold after that. Earlier in this season, I think you would have seen this team kind of fold and end up getting run ruled. I mean, that was kind of their pattern earlier in this season. But, credit to them. Griffin Herring comes in. He gives you 4 1/3. He allows 2 more runs, but then Little, Lore, and Dutton all come in and give no more runs after that, and they're able to pile up the strikeouts. I mean, those 3 guys also all looked awesome. I can't wait to see more of both Little and Dutton. I think they finally kind of figured out who the guys are in that bullpen, and we'll see if it's too little too late, but the pitching has been excellent. I mean, they brought their team ERA on the season down to just over 4, which is very good, very competitive. In the nationally, and top 4 in the SEC in all games. That's not conference only games. Conference only games, their ERA is over 6 still, but for the season, they're a little over 4 runs a game, which is you can win a lot of games that way, even with the struggling offense. But the offense didn't quit either. They kept battling. Milam got his 3rd home run of the game, has that big 3-run bomb. but kind of the story is just the missed opportunities, especially in the seventh inning. That one, I think you and I were texting that one, and I said at the time, like, if we don't tie the game here, we don't deserve to win because you had bases loaded in the seventh inning, no outs, and you're only able to get one run with your big boppers coming up. I mean, you got Larson, White, and Jones coming up, and you only get one run, which is really disappointing. And really just kind of felt like that was the moment of the game right there. And after that, it just didn't feel like LSU was going to be able to get it done. What did you think about the performance on Sunday? I know you had some thoughts about how they used Kate Anderson.
Yeah. So let me start with that because I've heard a lot of different takes on who we should have started, criticizing Jay's choice to go with Kate Anderson, and or do we start Griffin Herring? Man, I've heard some wild stuff. I've heard in one breath, well, Kate Anderson, that's not something he's used to doing, starting a conference game, and in the same breath, I'm hearing we could have started Justin Lohr or Gavin Guidry, and I'm thinking, what? What are we talking about? Kate Anderson's last two starts, he threw 7 innings, and I don't think he gave up a run. He gave up like 4 hits or 3 hits in his last 7 innings. That's two starts. They were midweek, but still, that's his last two starts. 7 innings. I don't think he gave up a run against uh, UNO and Nichols. I love that start, and I would be for it again tomorrow. And here's the thing: all you can ask a pitcher to do is pound the zone, be able to throw multiple pitches for strikes, and be able to command where he's throwing the ball. Okay. Kate Anderson was throwing 95 miles per hour. His breaking ball was landing, and he was throwing the ball wherever Milazzo held his mitt. Okay. He gave up a second pitch of the game, a double. It was a nice job. I think he actually missed his spot. He got it up and away, and it was a good hit by Stanfield. But then he gets, he gets a little bunt pop up, and then makes pretty quick work of McMurray, strikes him out. So we've got 2 outs with the guy on second. He tries to get the back foot slider, hits the guy on the foot. So, um, I know he got made a mistake there. But the RBI single to the right hander, that ball, that fastball, he got it right where Milazzo asked for it. It was right in on his hands, probably a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Typically, that ball does not get hit to the right field line. I mean, when you saw somebody off like that, I don't know how the guy hit the ball right on the foul line, but he did. So there's your first hit. So now he's given up 1 run still. The next 2 hits he gave up, and this is just the truth. If we're just playing regular defense, we're out of the inning with 1 run. So you could say, well, that's true. They hit, but the reality is, I mean, if you give up a weak contact, he was ahead of Christian Hall, way ahead in the count. Hall hits a weak ground ball to the shortstop, and if typically to a lefty, they were setting up a way, you're going to shade towards second base. So, like, I don't think Braswell would have had to move, but he was on the other side of second base. So, no way to get that. And then you got the next guy comes up, I think it was Baloo maybe, or um, but he hits a ball, a weak liner that barely hit the dirt. Again, that was more of a routine. So my point is this: it's easy to jump on Kate Anderson um, if you're just looking at the line, but I thought he actually had good stuff. I don't think he was tired. The guy's throwing 95. He was not missing up. He was hitting his spots. I thought he looked really good. Um, so anyway, we put Helmers in, and I like Helmers against righties. I love him to throw high and inside. He got the strikeout like that. He did give up another base hit that we just got in a hole. And once we were in a hole, I think we tried to claw. We had some good pitching performances the whole game. I mean, this is the guys who pitched on Sunday. They threw strikes. Anderson throws 64% strikes. Helmer 64% strikes. Herring 66. Little 65. Lore 67%. And Dutton 85%. The guys were throwing strikes. I mean, they did a great job. It was just one of those deals where it it was just if we had another inning or two, maybe we come back. But you mentioned the bases loaded in the seventh. Bottom of the sixth, we got first and second, no outs. Travinsky's up and he's got a 3-1 count. And he chases a slider that was ball four. Um, so anyway, that was one of the games where that's we see the first inning and say, hey, our pitching, that's what I think our offense was just we just couldn't really that was more of an offensive thing to me in game three. Yes, the first inning got us, behind, but um, that game we had our toughest offense performance. We hit, 8 for 33, so 242 as a team. But listen to this for the weekend. For the weekend, we hit 27 for 99 is 273 with 5 home runs. You know what Auburn hit? A whopping 186 as a team with 0 home runs. Now, we had four guys hit over 300. Larson, 6 for 13. Travinsky, 4 for 11. That's usual suspects, right? Braswell, 4 for 10. And Milazzo, 4 for 11. So those are the four guys on our team that hit over 300 for the weekend. Okay. Um, Pitching wise, I went back and I was looking, not just this weekend, but in the last two midweek games and in two series. So that's Missouri, uh, Auburn, Nichols, and UNO. Our bullpen over a span of 8 games has thrown 32 and two-thirds innings and given up 5 runs. That's a 1.38 ERA. So, I mean, I feel really good about what we're doing right now, pitching the ball. You went to your bullpen, Alex, 8 times. Okay, no, I'm sorry. You went to your bullpen 9 times, and 8 of those times, the guy you put in the game didn't give up an earned run. The only one that did was Griffin Herring, and he threw longer than most of them. But for 8 of 9 guys to not be charged a run, that's pretty good. That's real good. Now, where we have some issues is our leadoff spot. We got to do something about a leadoff spot, and I feel like we're about 2 guys away right now in our lineup. I think that we have a few holes right now where we're just we're not getting a whole. We're like a guy, like a superstar away, or like two good players away right now on offense. But our leadoff guys went 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts and 2 base on balls, and that was Kling, and then that was game three, Bingham. So I'm not really sure what you do about the leadoff spot at this point, but I'm not thinking that's how you draw it up.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, maybe, Braswell's been, I mean, now I guess technically your second best hitter in SEC play after Larson. But maybe you look at moving Braswell into that leadoff spot. Um, I don't know. I think they've tried that a couple times, and then he didn't have good games, when they have put him there. So I, I don't know what you do about it. Last weekend Kling was able to get on base more. He didn't have a ton of hits, but he was able to get on base more.
Hmm.
This game, like you said, he wasn't getting on base. He did have one hit by pitch too, so that was another free pass he was able to
Hmm.
get on. But yeah, I hear you with the leadoff spot, man. When you start looking forward, when we're coming up to this weekend here against A&M, uh, that is that's a real offense. I mean, they're the number one team in the country, and they're the number one team in the country for a reason, and it's a really good reason. I mean, they are top 5 in the league. They're the only team that's top 5 in the league in both pitching and hitting. Um, they are a complete team. You look at Ryan Prager on Friday night. He's a dude. He's been awesome for them. And then you look at their lineup, and it's the freshman Gavin Grahovic has been awesome for them. And then you've got Braden Montgomery, who when he's in the running for Golden Spikes, he's in that conversation with Caglione and Condon for Golden Spikes. Jace Lavalette has been awesome. That's really tough. When you look at the math for the NCAA tournament, with LSU sitting at 7-14 in the league, you're shooting for that 13 win mark. Got to figure out how to get 6 wins. You cannot get swept this weekend. I think if you get swept this weekend, I mean, you'd have to sweep both the next series to even have a shot. And we haven't seen this team be able to do that against the 2 worst teams in the league. So, yeah, you got to figure if they get swept this weekend, postseason chances ride on winning out in Hoover. What do you see from this Aggie team? What are you thinking? What are LSU's chances to grab a game this weekend?
I mean, they're well. I like our chances a lot. I mean, we're still LSU. We still have the guys we have. We're pitching the ball well. Georgia played A&M very tough. I mean, they lost I think a 5-2 game Friday night or a six. It was a close game, and then beat A&M 5-4. So there was two games that A&M scored under 6 runs of the three. Um, so they're human. I mean, they have 7 guys of their in their lineup hitting over 300. So they have many guys. And what's kind of ridiculous is you had like Camarillo, the shortstop. You don't hear him much, but he's reached base safely in 30 straight games. Montgomery's reached base safely in 26 straight games. I think Jackson Appel just ended like a 17 game hitting streak, game 2 against Georgia, and then he got it up, then he picked it back up game 3. They've got guys all over the place that are just having incredible years. They've got power. They hit for average. On the mound, I really like the 2 lefties. I like the game 1 starter, Prager. He's going to throw 90, but he's got a changeup. He's got a curveball. He's very crafty. And Justin Lampkin, their Sunday starter, the last 2 weekends he hasn't been great, but then he was really good this past weekend. And he's another one that's a tall guy, got a kind of a funkier delivery, maybe more 3/4 than Prager is. Prager's more over the top, I believe. But again, he's got some funky stuff. Um, the game 2 guy he gave up 9 runs or something in the first inning against Georgia, but he's been typically pretty good. And then they've got a couple of really good relievers. I mean, Ashton Beck, the lefty, was great last year. He's kind of you're not going to do much against him. And then the other guy, I mean, he's got a 1.6 ERA for the entire year, and that's in 45 innings pitched. So the other guy wasn't great last year, but he's a very hard thrower. Chris Cortez, he's got like a 3 ERA right now, right-handed, got a good slider. So they've got a couple of stud relievers that they go to. It's a good team. They're a very good team. But what I'm banking on is, jump. Auburn hit 0.87 against him in his start. Coleman held Auburn to 0.95 in his start. I mean, we got guys that are real a real 1-2 punch that you're going to roll out there, and you're at home. And you know what? Things happen in baseball. I mean, would it be absolutely insanely crazy to take 2 games from A&M? I don't think
Yes.
so. I don't think so. A&M's had many series where they won 2 out of 3, and one of their wins was very close. So, I mean, you it's gonna you just got to play good ball. We're playing better every week. I mean, you go back to the Tennessee series when we started to really pitch the ball well, and we really competed. Then you go to the Missouri series win our first series, but we had a bad start from home, and then against Auburn, we had one bad inning. Um, so we're playing better. I think they've got some confidence right now. Um, but A&M's a monster. I mean, it's their off. They hit this weekend. I mean, like LSU finished I think with like 27 hits with 31 hits. The difference is they drew 19 bases on balls and they hit 11 home runs. To put that in context, I think LSU had 10 bases on balls and what, 5 home runs. Um, they scored 28 runs in 3 games against Georgia. So, um, they can score and they can score 1 through 9. Uh, but you just got to pitch the ball. That's it. You're gonna have to pitch. We got guys that are gonna keep us in the game. I think the bigger thing to me for this weekend is going to be our offense. I don't. I think we'll be okay. If you can hold A&M in that 5-6 run range, um, but you still have to score, and that's kind of what concerns me is that right now I feel like we've got a couple of holes in our lineup. Um, and it's always styles. It's the type of pitchers you're facing, but um, those guys from Auburn just gave us fits at times this weekend. So, but look, Tanks didn't have a great weekend. If we can get the right guys to catch fire this weekend, um, look, anything can happen. So,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if your defense for maybe winning the series is, hey, anything can happen, it's probably not a good chance of you winning the series.
well, no, I'm saying if our right guys catch fire, I mean, you can't have Tommy White going, what, 3 for 11, something like that. Yeah, 3 for 13. You can't have Tommy White going 3 for 13. Jared Jones going, 3 for 11, and your leadoff going 0 for 10. But you have your guys, put it together and just have a very good offensive weekend. Pitch the way you've been pitching. I mean, A&M's they're a team. I mean, look, they're good, but again, this isn't 2022 Tennessee. This isn't 2023 even Wake Forest. If you don't want to use LSU because we kind of had a little thing at the end. I mean, this isn't a team that's dominating. I think that lots of people that would argue Arkansas and Tennessee are right there with them. So, um, certainly a team that can be beat. But yeah, I mean, I think we have to look at it. If we're just going to concede, not that the guys are doing this, but if we're just going, hey, let's just try to win one, they have to go into this thing going, look, we need to win the series because if they win the series, well, then I mean, you're going into your next 2 series, very winnable series. Um, and I mentioned this to you about the RPI. I just by not reaching that 14 win total, which was where I think we really needed to get to be sure about it. Um, Now it comes it's a matter of, well, how many wins you finish with and how's that our RPI going to look if we're right there on the fence. I think it would really help to win this series against A&M, not just for our win total, but for RPI because that gives you a really good series win. That's just a nice feather in the cap for the Tigers. But yeah, man, I'm glad we got him at our place. That's for sure.
Yeah, so looking at the RPI, A&M is sitting at number 1 in the RPI right now. You got Alabama at 14, Ole Miss at where was Ole Miss at 27, and then LSU sitting at 42. So every team that you have left to play is first of all in quad 1 and ahead of you. So if you can get to 13 wins, which is kind of the consensus about where LSU needs to get in conference play, you're going to assume you take 1 from A&M. Say we take that's a win against number 1 RPI team, so that's going to help a lot. You're going to get 2 wins. You're going to if you're going to get to 13, you got to get 2 wins at least at Bama. So that's going to be 2 wins against the top 15 RPI team on the road. That's going to help out a lot. And then your last series against Ole Miss at home, with Ole Miss have an RPI of 27, you're going to need to sweep them if you're going to get to 13 wins. So 3 more quad 1 wins is going to be extremely helpful. So I think you'll end up with an if you get to 13 wins, I think you'll end up with an RPI somewhere in the high 20s. You'll be at 13 conference wins and probably need another win in Hoover to really feel safe. But I think even if you don't, I think you still got a shot to get into the NCAA tournament.
Man, it was just such a killer to lose that game to Auburn, game 3, because it's, and I've been saying this since the second half of the season started, the second half of the conference schedule is everyone is so precious. And, having the opportunity to get 3 wins from Mizzou and Auburn we really needed to take advantage of that. And at a minimum, get 5 out of the first 6. Now, look, we didn't do it, so all we can do now is go forward. But that's why that was such a big game on Sunday to get. And it really does make it now where you are playing playoff games from here on out. I mean, you are playing playoff games. So you got to go out there and you got to go do something you haven't done all year long. Go win a series that you're not supposed to. Go play the 2 best games of the year. I mean, you got the players, you got the coaching, you got the home field advantage. Go win the series, and then we're going to have a really fun last couple of weeks, because not only you lose get swept, you're back having to worry about getting into the SEC tournament, because Mizzou's only like a game behind you. You're tied with Ole Miss right now. All right. So if Mizzou goes and gets a game against South Carolina this weekend and you lose all 3, well, you're tied with Mizzou. Ole Miss, do you remember who Ole Miss has this weekend?
I don't remember. I can check. I'll check real quick.
I want to say is it Mississippi? No, it's not Mississippi State. It's somebody. I feel like it's a series that's they can get at least a game. Who in the world is it?
My computer's being slow right now. Let's see here. Looking. They have
Auburn. Is it all
midweek? And
right,
then they have Auburn.
That's it. So that's a winnable series. So the team you're tied with, if you get swept and say they pick up 2 games, well, and vice versa. What if Auburn goes out and wins that series, and now they're 2 games behind you with 6 games? So the point is this: you don't need to go get swept this weekend against A&M, because then you're kind of back fighting for your Hoover life. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're not going to go there, man. We're still trying to get to a regional. Hey, what did you think about that comment Jay made? I saw you sent something out about that if we were in another conference, we would be. I think he might have just not been. Maybe he was thinking mid-major conference. I mean, I love the confidence. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he said that in any other league we'd be number 1, and
I see what he's saying. We have played like really good against some really good teams, and we've played well, and against teams of a little lesser caliber, we might have come out on the right side of those. But again, there are the Florida States out there, the Clemson's, North Carolina. There's some good teams in the ACC. There's some good teams.
Yeah, I mean,
out there.
I said I quote tweeted that, and I said that LSU would probably be. I'd have them somewhere fourth or fifth in the ACC, somewhere around maybe right below like North Carolina, Virginia, in that kind of space. Um, but I think Oregon State in the pack is better than LSU, but in the
Yeah,
pack, I think that's it. I think LSU
yeah,
could
yeah,
take at least two or three from every other team in the pack, and I think LSU would absolutely be the number one team in the Big 12. The Big 12 is the definition of mid this year. Oklahoma looked like they might be the best team, and then they go lose 2 out of 3 to Texas team that's been hot and cold. And Oklahoma State looks decent, but I would still take LSU 2 out of 3 over them.
yeah.
So yeah,
And I really
LSU.
do. I sorry about that. I truly believe that he's right. That if you can just get yourself into a regional, you can win a regional. I mean, you can absolutely win a regional because you're not going to be in a regional with another SEC team. And that's all you can hope for because is to keep this thing going a little bit longer and see what happens. I mean, not every team's got a Tommy White or a Jared Jones or a
Yeah,
Holman or
for
a
sure.
Jump.
If
So
I'm a regional host and I see LSU come in as my 3
no,
seed,
sir. No, sir.
I want no part of that. But
Yep.
we'll see if it happens. Certainly hope it does. But Tigers got a long road to go before we start talking regionals. But
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like last weekend, Friday night's going to be the big one. Hopefully we have Ackenhausen ready to go. But again, I like where our staff is right now. I don't think that's it's not like Skeens going down or something. I mean, we'd love to have Ackenhausen, but we've got a lot of options. And the good thing about right now is that a lot of these guys that have kind of been forgotten about, even if it was one outing, have confidence again. It's so mental. And so now we got those guys back engaged. And so we're really going into the series the best we've been pitching wise in a long, long time, from our starters to our bullpen. So now we just got to put it together with our offense.
yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, the pitching staff is playing the best it's played all year. And so if the offense can do enough, then I think, we can get one. And, maybe if the baseball gods are on our side, maybe we'll get two. We'll see. But I know, as always, you and I are going to enjoy watching it. We're going to watch the midweek game tomorrow. That's the first thing on the horizon. Gotta take care of business. Can't lose.
Yeah.
Cannot lose a midweek game to Grambling. If you want to make the NCAA tournament. So let's go take care of business against Grambling. Let's take care of business against A&M. Let's have a week, shall we?
Yeah, and every week I somewhat pick with my heart because I'm a fan, and I always pick LSU to win the series just because I'm almost trying to will it. Okay, but I'm not going to do that this weekend just because I need them to win. I'm actually going to pick LSU because I think they're going to win against A&M. They're going to play the best series they played all year, and they're going to beat A&M 2 out of 3. And this is going to be a great time we have next Monday night. You heard it
Well,
here first.
Jason, I don't think anybody would accuse you of being a pessimist.
No, I'm not.
I'm not going to be that bold. I'm going to say LSU gets one. But hey, if you're right, then yeah, we'll have a toast on next show. I'll break out a good bottle of whiskey and we'll have a toast.
There you
But
go.
we'll see how it goes. Either way, everybody have a good week. Make sure you like the page, subscribe to the channel. We'll catch y'all next week.